Okay, thank you very much. Now, I've put up this is one of the logos I'm using in the business right now, Social Revolution, and I believe that we are upon a social revolution, and so we'll launch into that and have a bit of fun with it, yeah? So a little Q&A to start with, just to see who's awake, and then we're going to talk about something magnificent that I've been on the cusp of, or was able to enjoy as something in a past life, before, you know, or in a break from my IT life, but it turned into something really cool. And then talk a little bit about where I'm up to and what my beliefs are around, you know, where we're up to with digital marketing. So hopefully you've got some takeaways in that. Now, who's actually, what's some countries here? So we've got South America, yeah, okay. We've got Europe's there, okay. North America, no, they're all going to speak English. They're not going to be here. Who have I found? Asia, we've got a few from Asia here. Okay, tremendous. Okay, so, oh, fabulous. Okay, so now, a bit of Q&A to start with. Who wants to hit me with, what is the biggest search engine in the world? Correct, okay. Next one, what was the biggest search engine? Who's old enough to remember what was the biggest search engine? Anyone? What was before Google? What? Exactly, Yahoo, correct. Okay, where do we keep our friends these days? Online. Correct, yeah. And the biggest online auction in the world that's been there for eBay, yeah, okay. And where do you buy and sell stuff? In Australia? Exactly. Where do we get our jobs? Where do we get everything? Gumtree, yeah. How do you get across town these days? Correct. And how did you, and the most popular fast food chain? Anyone? McDonald's, yeah, McDonald's. But someone's already pinched my joke. Because in Australia, we don't call it McDonald's, do we? What do we call it? Macca's, that's right. So what's the takeaway from this? This is the first thing I've come to notice. I don't know, this is like a takeaway for you, but have you noticed something about all those things, all those names, all those huge brands? They're all 2 syllables, yeah? Have you noticed that? So that's something really cool. So in terms of marketing, there's 2 syllables as universal in just about all those brands we've talked about this morning, and there's a whole lot more. Like, how do we meet people? Online, yeah? Tinder, yeah? There's so 2 syllables. There's so many more, you know, and I've just stopped it. How do we pay for things? PayPal, yeah? So 2 syllables, really important. And there's also tends to be an oo or ah sound in there as well. And so when you're developing a business, which I'm sure that's something all of you aspire to do at some point in your life, you'll probably want to make sure that, you know, you're looking for something that's 2 syllables. I think you should definitely have oo or ah in it because it sounds great then, yeah? It rolls off the tongue. And you want to make sure the domain name is available, you want to make sure the business name is available, and you probably want to grab a trademark. So that's a really cool takeaway for you. Now, when I tell any sort of business leader that slide, I show that presentation to any business, so they go, oh, we never realised that. So anyway, so there's something as a little takeaway for you straight away out of the box there. Now, let's talk about some failings then. You know, what was another big search engine at the start of the internet? Anyone remember? It was superior, way superior to Yahoo. Bing. Bing? Well, Bing's, what do you think of Bing? Anybody here use Bing? No. Exactly. How many syllables? 1, you know? Back in the day, there was this really cool search engine called Alta Vista. Oh, yeah. Remember that one? So and it was really, as a tech guy, I looked at Alta Vista and said, that's really, really good search engine, you know. It's so much superior to Yahoo. But what was its failing? Too long. It's too long. No one could spell it. So you want to make sure that, so 2 syllables in a spellable way is another thing to look out there for. And you might sort of look at me, John, and say, oh, John, how could you possibly find anything in this day and age that's 2 syllables that's got that oo or ah sound in it that's available, yeah? So it's a bit of a challenge to find that on a worldwide basis. But we did it a couple of years ago. It might be a bit hard to see here. May was something that we had a look at a couple of years ago and trialled it as a business idea, as an entrepreneurial spirited idea. May, so shared gourmet, May. So it's got that oo or ah sound in it. It's got 2 syllables. The domain, we got the .com on May. What else is available? Go, that's so incredibly cool. So that's it. And so we actually experienced that. It was shared dining, you know, come and eat with us. There's successful endeavours in Europe around that. There's Asia's got some, East and East Coast USA, West Coast USA, there's people experimenting, there's people who are doing it. So we launched Gourmet. It went nowhere because ultimately people have always got that trepidation about going to eat with someone in their own house. So, and the actual income model for that's actually thing. So we're looking for disruption in restaurant dining, but it's a bit of a hard ask, yeah. It's one thing to jump in some private person's car and go across town with them, but it's a whole nother ask to you know, go into someone's home and eat their food, you know, and there's food safety issues and all the rest of it. But anyway, we went nowhere with that. But anyway, we tried, yeah. Now, a little bit of John Naylor. Thank you very much for the introduction, Rudy. Just a brief introduction myself. Grew up in the Brisbane western suburbs, so in a rather humble sort of upbringing. Graduated from QUT down the road here in 1989. Found the internet and fell in love with it at first sight, 1997. Started eCentral in 1998. So 20 years in business in around about, this month actually. So that's not bad, eh? Always passionate about marketing. I'm an IT guy. But what am I doing working with websites and marketing? Well, I'm here telling you guys something about socials because I'm actually really passionate about marketing. I love to see things that sell. I love selling. I love things that market. I like to have those conversations. And got a bit of front as well, a bit of personality. In 2005, I took some time out and actually went to live, and we'll touch on this and go into this in greater detail. Went and lived on a boat in the Great Barrier Reef, 2005. I was one of those guys, the original laptop lifestyle. So, you know, there's that sort of lifestyle. People saw the way I lived and just said, that's just so incredible. And it was. It really was everything you think it can be. And started a thing called channelwithsunday.com, touch upon that as well. I returned back to Brisbane and said, no, I better get back into business. I've had too much time out, so I returned here in 2015. And yeah, in front of you guys now today. Anyway, now, is my pace of speech okay? Is everybody, who can't understand me? Anybody, am I going too quick for anyone? No, it's okay. All right.
It should be okay.
Yeah, okay. And any
I talk pretty quickly too.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, really? Now it all comes out. Wow.
Now, I haven't actually road tested this, so I don't know how long this is going to go either, by the way, so we'll just see. But let's go for a walk down memory lane, first of all, and we are going to talk a lot about video today, so let's you know, start out with a bit of a discussion about our old mate, Charlie Chaplin. Who's ever seen some Charlie Chaplin video? Or, you know, a bit of TV. So Charlie here, you know, he's back in the day where there was just audio, there was just music played in the background, or as this was, you know, just the original, you know, pictures, the moving pictures, yeah? So Charlie it was all visual, and so we enjoyed Charlie because that's as bad as good as it got, yeah? And this actually then had to be distributed, it had to be put on film back in the day and distributed across the planet or across America or whatever, and then played to people in cinemas, yeah? And that's the way it sort of went for some time until, you know, we started to enjoy that they found a way to put sound into pictures, didn't they, and moving pictures. And so, and that brought alive characters like our mates here with the Three Stooges. Which,
know the Three Stooges? Yeah.
Everybody seen the Three Stooges? No, first time Three Stooges. Look, it's all there on YouTube. Look up Three Stooges and, you know, you're going to enjoy some of the stuff. It's all sight gags, them slapping each other. It's, you know, it's all playful stuff. And there's actually sound in this so you can have a good listen to what they're saying. And yeah, I know, I could sit there and watch it all day, but I'll avert my gaze. So that's what happened around that time. And then Rudy and I are going to remember good old Here's Lucy, yeah? So, and these are the sorts of, when I was sitting in front of the television as a young child when we first got a television in the house, it was shows like Here's Lucy, you know, that came to the fore. So we had some colour going on. This was, you know, the original sitcom. So this is original, you know, in studio, regular show. It arrived on your TV in a regular thing, and I don't know how many times they've replayed Here's Lucy. I imagine you could probably watch some Here's Lucy on public TV even still today because it just got played year in, year out. What are we going to do? We've run out of video, let's play some more, you know. So Here's Lucy's where we got to. Who can recognise this guy on site? Yeah, Mork and Mindy. Anybody remember Mork and Mindy? So as we talk about the progression thing, now who is this guy? Does anybody recognise him? Yeah, that's right. We lost him the other year, which is a dreadful loss to the planet. But, you know, this was the progression of sitcom TV. You know, it was entertaining, it was funny. You know, Robin Williams, of course, at the pointy end of funny in our day. And we, you know, once again, when I was young, probably yourself as well, Rudy, sat down and we watched our Mork and Mindy quite religiously. And that came from Laverne and Shirley, which, you know, actually came out of good old Happy Days, you know. So there was all this, you know, as children, this is what I grew up with, watching this sort of type of humour going on. Let's step forward. So now this is where things actually start to take a turn for the worse for the television industry, yeah? In more ways than one, I guess, but you know, variously where you come from. I guess, has there been a big brother in every country that's represented here today? Have you all had big brothers in your country?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone been on it?
At this time, Brazil is showing one of Big Brother.
Is that right? Okay. So they're running one still. I don't think, is it still running in Australia?
No, it got canned.
I think, yeah.
Ratings. Yeah, it was a ratings issue, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So in terms of Big Brother in Australia, I think this actually sort of heralded, actually what year do you reckon that was, Rudy? I wouldn't even have a guess.
Would have been 10 years ago.
So the internet was around,
Yeah.
but I give it to you that this was the beginning of the end for television. Because who here watches television? Anyone? Anyone?
Not in Australia.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So there's still people watching television. I'm actually surprised by that answer. But this for mine was the beginning of the end for television, because this showed that you could make television just by pointing cameras at people and just recording their everyday life, and possibly spicing it up a bit by making them sleep all in the same room and making them do group activities. But this was a situation where, you know, you just made television just by pointing cameras at people, lots of cameras at people. Now, as I said, I think that was the beginning of the end, because we now live in a world where, you know, we're recording videos, we're recording photos of ourselves, you know, and uploading them, that sort of thing, and we're making entertainment out of ourselves or what's happening around us. I think these guys sort of, you know, brought it upon themselves a little bit, or this was the heralding of it, because here they were making television as something as rudimentary as that. And we said, oh, that's easy, and actually we can do that ourselves, can't we, now, very easily. And we'll talk about that a bit more. So, takeaway 2. So I gave you the 2-syllable thing. That's probably really powerful. But for mine, TV is dead. TV is dead. And these are going to be monuments where, you know, in years to come, people will look at Mount Cootha here, or the capital cities, the hills around your hometowns and your home cities, and you're going to have to explain what a television tower does. Yeah. And on the basis of that, you look at the way, the infrastructure that's involved in that, and the hold that the industry has had. So the television industry, as a media industry, has had an enormous hold on how we, what we watched, what we listened to. And they had a lot of influence over us, yeah? And that's why I actually even titled this talk, The Social Revolution, because the power of voice and video and putting messages out there is something that's now in our hands, yeah? But then to return and talk a little bit more about this, so these guys, you know, and big industries, big media industries were created and took control of the world, because they had to build this infrastructure, put up these big towers, and then they had a broadcast, yeah? So they were able to broadcast from Brisbane here, out across all the suburbs. 4 channels I had to choose from when I was a kid. That was incredible, you know. But they, basically, you flick there, you've always got ads. Ads haven't left us, have they? Always got ads, except Channel 2, which made it a bit more boring in a way. But we, that was the way we sort of lived, you know. We had that fewer choices in terms of what we watched. Of course, we know now that everything's on demand and we can watch pretty much anything, anytime, wherever we are on our smartphone. Yes, actually that's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, spoiled for choice. And that's sort of a problem in itself. Anyway, so what's possible today? What's possible today? Well, actually more pointed. What was possible in 2009? So let's rewind, what, 9 years now? And look what was achieved. Now, this is where I launch into a bit of my own story, and I want to tell you about the best job in the world, yeah? Does anybody remember the best job in the world? It's old enough. Do you remember the best job in the world? Rudy does. Anyone else? Okay. But what I might do is just pause that, or actually even kill the sound if we possibly can.
You all right, John?
I beg your pardon?
You okay?
Yeah. I'm just going to kill the sound there if I possibly can. So that bled through. So best job in the world was a campaign launched by the Queensland government. And what they did was really incredible because what they said is we want to give away something. We actually want to employ someone to be the caretaker of the Great Barrier Reef. Yeah? And what they did is they advertised it as an advertisement. So they put job ads in newspapers, which were still kind of popular back in the day, job ads all around the world saying we're looking for someone to come and actually look after the Great Barrier Reef. And what were the details of that? I'd like that to go to the next slide.
You may want to consider moving to Australia.
Okay. So the best job in the world, as I said there, they placed ads all around the world. And what they said is we want an island caretaker. We want someone to come and look after the Great Barrier Reef for 6 months. And we're going to pay you to do it. So, and anyone can apply was a central core thing. So these job ads appeared all over the world. All over the world. So people, and this was at a time of recession. This was a time of financial trouble in the world. This was post-financial crisis, you know. A lot of people unhappy. A lot of people have lost money. A lot of people not having a lot of hope. So the idea that anyone could apply to be the caretaker of the Great Barrier Reef. I mean, who'd want that job? Anyone here? I would. You know, so what was the reality of that? The reality was, so their pitch was, we want someone to do a job and we're going to pay them to do it. But what was the reality? They were giving away a holiday with prize money and accommodation. So $160,000 for 6 months' work. That's all right, isn't it? Aussie dollars as well. We like them. And 6 months living on Hamilton Island. Who's been to Hamilton Island here? Anyone? Yeah. So lovely place. And we want you to experience. You know, you're going to go all over the Great Barrier Reef and do everything that the Great Barrier Reef has got to offer. You know, and we're going to. All you've got to do as an outcome of that is blog. We want you to take photos. You're going to be in photos, and we want you to write stories about that. So we all dream in social media space of this sort of job, yeah. Particularly in this room, yeah? You know, in the social media space. Now, this was 2009. This was possible. And so on the basis of that, 35,000 applications from 200. I don't think there's over 200 countries. As far as I'm concerned, I think there's about 180 countries. Anybody want to challenge that? I think, anyway, this is the published truth according to Queensland Tourism. But anyway, 35,000 applications, and that's absolutely real. I saw that with my own 2 eyes. And the big deal is here, and this is really before Facebook was really a big thing. Certainly no Snapchat, certainly no Instagram, yeah? This is way back in the day, you know, 9 years ago. But they generated, the outcome was, and you've got to remember what they're trying to do, is they're trying to promote the Great Barrier Reef and coming to Australia for holiday because, you know, tourism was really in the toilet. It had really gone south. A lot of people not going anywhere because they were fearful about the financial situation in the world. They'd lost jobs. Australia actually had become a more expensive place to visit as well. It's actually really expensive. You think it's bad now. Should have seen it then. You know, as Australians travelling overseas, we're loving it. We're $1.10 on the US. So, you know, to go to the USA was actually really cheap. To be in Europe with a euro as a 0.82, I think it was. It's just magnificent. It was really a lot of fun. But anyway, look, their outcome was that they wanted to generate a lot of media because they couldn't afford to place ads all around the world, could they? So this was the epoch. This is one of the original social media amazing things they did where they were able to, and they measured, they said measuring, and I don't know a lot about that technology, but one of the rules for the applicants, certainly the top 50, the people that got into the top 50, so they went through 35,000 applications, went down to 50 finalists, and then down to 16 people that they actually brought to Hamilton Island. And all the way along, once you made the top 50, part of your job was to generate more media. Go out and get in the front of cameras, get in a paper. And then when you do that, send us a copy or send us a link. So what they did then is they used, you know, traditional media measuring type techniques to measure and find that, you know, they got to $430 million worth of exposure. Now, there's no way Queensland can afford to spend that sort of money on exposure or raising profile for the Great Barrier Reef. In fact, this whole campaign cost, I think, from what I remember, I think the initial campaign was 2.5 million was how much the government was willing to spend on it initially. When it blew up and went so successful, they went back and said, oh, can we have a couple of million more? So it ended up being a, so how do we like that? So for around about 4.5 million, you've got $430 million worth of exposure. That's pretty good bang for buck, isn't it? That's pretty good. So 100 times their investment in terms of exposing the Great Barrier Reef and holidaying in Australia. So, and of course, so what happened out of that, as I explained, like there was a final 50 were announced. I was overlooked, unfortunately. But anyway, look, they got down to a final 50, and the lucky final 16, which they picked out. You know, while it was a competition, they were fairly choosy about what they did. And so they chose, and what's represented there is the 16 most preferred countries. It was a bit naughty, really, because there wasn't really a competition in that. Because they picked out winners from the 16 most popular countries sending tourists to Australia at the time. And so represented there from, oh, there's a French guy at the end there. We've got an Australian, we've got an Italian. We had someone from Dublin, we had a Scottish. Ben Southall's looking gingery there in the middle from the UK. A couple of Asian countries. Tall bloke was from Canada. And at the end there's Anjan from India. So these were the 16 finalists, and they flew them in to Hamilton Island for them to experience the Great Barrier Reef and make some more media feasts. So they're making more press along the way. And this actual final event was then attended by media outlets from all around the world. You know, they sent, if there was a finalist from their country, they more than likely sent a media crew. So in terms of things, there's a Japanese there. Yes, there was actually a representation from Japanese media was there for the final event to actually record part of it. And the outcome of that, so who won? Not this bloke. And I'm still disappointed. No, who won was Ben Southall. Has anyone heard of Ben Southall? Yeah, right. Rudy might have. And he's actually, in terms of Queensland engagement, and well, maybe we'll touch on that a bit. Actually, let's talk about that. So you can see the surprised look on his face there. I think it's quite poignant. So that's the moment where he got, they said that he was the winner because they'd done that pretty well. They did actually embargoed that quite nicely. So on the basis that, he was the guy that got to stay, or he went home, but he came back and started his tenure, or his job as the island caretaker, and you know, enjoyed the rewards of living in Hamilton Island, $160,000 Australian for 6 months' effort, and had to go around and be a show pony. Now his credentials actually pretty good. He had already proved himself able to get social. He did a stunt where he jumped in the Thames and went for a swim with a floaty, and got some notable press down there to record him, so he'd done that. He'd also travelled around Africa in his Land Rover, and I think had done 3 marathons in that time as he drove around Africa by himself and raised some £20,000 for breast cancer research. So this guy's credentials were actually pretty good. The only thing is he's a bit self-absorbed. He's improved over the years, but at the time he just, and look, actually as a spokesperson he was excellent because he just wouldn't draw a breath. You know, I'd probably do pretty well. I imagine Rudy does as well, but you know, think about your most talkative friend, someone that you know that talks without stopping. That's Ben. And you know, but he could do it about any subject. And when they directed his effort around about talking about the Great Barrier Reef, he actually did pretty well with that. Also a non-drinker and obviously very fit guy. I will touch on, I'm still dirty about the fact that Anjan, this guy was Mr. Personality. He was Mr. Personality. He could not, and I was at the final event, which I'll talk about shortly, he couldn't stop shaking hands, introducing himself to people. He was Mr. Charisma. He came from Bangalore, where he was the most popular radio DJ in Bangalore. He commanded large sums of money for him to go out and do events and be the MC. You know, his radio broadcast audience on any given weekday was over 1 million people. Listened to him on radio every single day. Yeah. And so, and I said, you couldn't find a guy with more charisma, you know, likeable, obviously. And as I said, when he got onto a boat, you watched him, you saw him, he'd go up and introduce himself to all the members of the crew and make himself known to them and express his appreciation. But you know, long story short, in terms of, do you pick Anjan from India or do you pick Ben Souther from England?
No women at all?
Well, you know, they were there. I think there was plenty of, yeah, no, there's plenty of equal opportunity there. If you go back, there's certainly plenty of women in the fray, but
not in the final three.
well, no, well, there was 16,
Okay.
became 1. So there's just announcement. So there's Callie there from the USA. She was fabulous. From Taiwan, this last, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but there were some really good candidates. There was a really strong Australian candidate in, actually, that's Callie, yeah, young Hayley from Brisbane was a really good candidate. But I put it to you in terms of manifesting the outcome they want. And, you know, I'll go publicly on the record in front of a video camera right now, as I believe they made that choice because at the time, the UK was the biggest supplier of tourists to Australia. So on the basis of that, can they have this guy? No. They wanted something that was going to make a splash in UK press. And I would have picked Anjan easily. Now it's interesting because now, 9 years later, the landscape for tourism in Queensland, if not all of Australia, is substantially different. You know, we see a lot of people coming in from countries like China and from India. So that investment was made, you know, for the short term, not the long term. Anyway, Ben now gets to be, what's his job role now? Can you remember, Rudy? It's he's officially for the state of Queensland, he's the adventurer entrepreneur. Yeah, so he's got a title with the Queensland government. Yeah, so he's still on the payroll. Well done, Ben. And he's done some other exciting things. So due credit where credit's due. You know, since the best job in the world, they did some other adventure where he travelled around all of Queensland, I think. He's also done the 7 highest peaks in the 7 states of Australia in 7 days, I think. So he's been up the top of Kosciuszko. He went through and did one in Victoria. He did whatever it was in South Australia. Went to northwest corner of Western Australia to go onto some property. He says it took about 4 hours to get there from the airport so he could stand on the highest point in Western Australia, and then flew to northern Queensland where he stood on top of Bartlefraya, you know, which is Queensland's tallest peak, incidentally. He's also done a challenge around New Zealand where he went over and did all the great walks in, I think, 12 days. So who's been to New Zealand, those great walks are genuinely great walks. They're a long way. And finally here he is with his wife. We actually drove a Land Rover from Brisbane to London as well. So he's done that as a journey and done some blog around that. So well done, Ben. He's still really, really fit, and he's still adventuring. Now that's really hard to read, isn't it? Even for me. But let's look at some of the outcomes there. So the thing is that the guys from Queensland Tourism are very vocal, well, at the time, very, very chuffed about themselves because they'd done something different and new. Remember that he'd given away a holiday. They'd give away a holiday. It was a prize giving, really, with them choosing the winner. They gave away a holiday and some prize money with some accommodation. But because they'd repackaged it, and this is where I challenge anyone around this stuff, is you need to look at how you repackage your marketing, yeah? If something is terrible or is boring, then you repackage it in such a way that people are going to jump on it. And so to talk to the Queensland Tourism guys after the fact and say, who came up with this? And they said, oh, well, we looked for something to give away. And we kept thinking about, oh, we give away an island holiday, we do this, and then someone's had let's do this as let's give away a job. Let's give away a job. And by repackaging and placing just those bunch of television ads and spending just a paltry $4 million, you know, the global news coverage, approximately 8.6 million website visitors. 8.6 million website visitors. And that was all in that original sort of 3 months, 2 months run up as well. Which was really incredible. They really flogged through they really got a lot of people onto the website. With 55 million page views, because all the videos, you had to upload your video to the website, you know, and then they reposted it to YouTube, which was really clever because it made the website the focal point for it. Due to a huge spike in the social media, so back in the day, Twitter and Facebook. As an applicant as well, there was a community. So Facebook, you know, these days if this happened, it'd be on Facebook. But there was no real community around the people who had applied. There's nowhere for them to comment and chat to each other. There's a woman from Canada who started I can't remember the platform, but it was some generic platform that allowed you to start your own social media space. You could post photos, chat with each other, register an account. And so there was about 2,000, 3,000 people signed on and participated in chats there, including myself. So it was a place where the various applicants could actually engage with each other, because otherwise they weren't able to. So in terms of social media, they didn't really do that bit well, because there wasn't a lot of interaction between the various applicants. And that, of course, has made it a good deal easier today with the various social media we enjoy so much. Ranked 8th on the list of the world's top 50 PR stunts of all time. Well, that's probably deserved. They won a lot of awards, oh, they just say here, so the globe was the top 5 countries for applications: the USA, Canada, UK, Australia, Germany, and more than 200,000 website hits in the first 24 hours. So they were able to make a storm. They were able to generate a lot of press very quickly, just with the job ad.
John, I can't recall, was it an external ad agency that came up with this, or was it internal? Do you remember? Or can't remember?
Well, I engaged, I was close to a few people at Tourism Queensland at the time, so I did get to actually find out a few of the insights. But I think that, to their credit, no one actually took complete credit. You know, they actually did share the.
Was it mainly internal, do you think?
Well, they said that the statement I got from one of the honchos at the time, one of the leading people, one of the senior people in marketing at Queensland Tourism at the time, said, well, we just kept workshopping, saying, what can we do, what can we do, what can we do? Now, you see that actual show reel, the video reel at the front that I started to play, started to make all that noise, was actually Cummins Nitro, the ad agency at the time that actually rolled this. So, yeah, so that's, I think it's just there, they just come up with it over a period of time, yeah. So, all right, let's pick it apart though. Let's allow John Naylor the opportunity to cast judgment on how things went and things that I saw happen as a result of. What could they have done better about the best job in the world? The losers, remember, for one winner in a pool of 35,000 people, you end up with 34,999 people that actually came second or fourth, depending on how you look at it. So there was a lot of discontentment, you know, and I'd made some connections around the world with applicants in some sort of personal contact or some sort of online contact, and my engagements as a follow-up via email or early days of Facebook was that, you know, they were upset. You know, my communication with them is, hey, do you want to come out and come to the Whitsunday still? Do you still want to come to the Great Barrier Reef? Do you want to come to Queensland, Australia? And they said, no, we're actually dirty. We're actually upset. Yeah. Oh, you can see where it come from. They thought, oh, I'm a chance here. But, you know, I actually, you know, myself honestly would have to say, no, I think from fairly early on it was going to be a white guy from England. Honestly, or white woman.
I think, John, too, there was a lack of consistent communication between the people that entered and the company, so people knew where they were at. And from memory, before they knew it, there was a winner, and people weren't really informed as they went through. So
yeah,
that's an issue as well.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, see, that's one thing I've said there is that the lack of follow-up. Like, and look, they in terms of their predictions around this, they nailed it. They predicted between 35 and 45,000 applicants, and they got 35,000. So they did well at that. But if that was their expectation, they should have tooled up. You know, if you're going to have a social media storm, then make sure you're ready to take on the challenges around that, and make sure you make a poster winner. So that's a little bit of a takeaway. But the thing is, there was no follow-up competitions. I remember saying at the time to someone at Queensland Tourism, someone senior, saying, well, what are you doing for all these other guys? There's people that are upset. You've got a lot of press, but you've also upset 35,000 people. You know, what are you going to do to actually, you know, to further inspire them? Offer them a second chance draw or something like that. So, and that cost them nothing. They could have gone back to Hamilton Island, who are a major sponsor of the event, or some other venue, and give away a couple more holidays. Get Qantas involved. Get some venue. It would have cost them nothing, because they just would have got those prizes donated and gone back to it, done some sort of random draw. They had all their email addresses. They knew who they were. All they had to do was send an email. And as far as I know, they never did. So there might have been a consolation, you know, like, sorry, you didn't win, but there's no sort of second chance draw, no other way to inspire them. And I don't know that they had any further ongoing contact with that database. And for myself as a digital marketer, if you've got a database of 35,000 email addresses, I'm going to spam that until they're all used up, until I've been told, until every single person's unsubscribed. I'm going to use that database and communicate with those people. As far as I know, they didn't do a great deal of follow-up, if at all. So that's what I think they could have done better about. Now also, in this early days of social media, and in terms of this, they didn't engage for mine. They didn't sort of bring in someone to be the compere, you know. We saw in Big Brother. We saw in Big Brother. We've seen in all sort of game shows, all sort of challenge shows, you always have someone fronting the show, you know. You get some sort of celebrity in there, an existing one, or create one as a commentator. You know, I think immediately Grant Denyer would be your go-to guy, you know, as an Australian entity. But they didn't engage a presenter. They didn't actually bring someone in to actually be a compere and represent and, you know, and video cast online. They certainly had the technology. It was, after all, 2009. You know, so that was another thing they failed to do, in my point of view. And the other thing is, now to their credit, they actually beat social media. You know, they did this before the platform was really there. Like, if they did this again today, or if this was an original idea in 2018, if they were just about to kick off another one, or do it for the first time, then how popular is it going to be on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, everything? It's going to be everywhere, isn't it? It's going to be tweeted. Who tweets anymore? Not me. But social media, they sort of had jumped the gun. They hadn't really, there wasn't really the Facebooky type engagement like you see today. I had a Facebook account. Rudy, I imagine you had one.
Yeah.
Who had a Facebook account in 2009? Anyone? Yeah, there's a few here.
I have a MySpace account.
Yeah, but yeah, I never, yeah, I wouldn't admit to that, Rudy. But interesting, how many syllables into MySpace? So anyway, look, the question is could it be done again? The fact was, because they did it originally, and it was an original idea, it went off. It absolutely went off. Like, and I'll get a bit more into detail about that. But could it be done again? Well, as people then tried, I think a couple of South American countries had a crack at it. I think Canada launched something similar. You know, had a Best Job in the World Canada edition. But it was a failure, because these guys were able to use an original idea in marketing, repackaged, and made something enormously popular and did well out of it. So well done to them. So, you know, the Canadian attempts and other ones you saw out there, and, you know, various friends of mine in the travelling community, as I was well connected to the travelling community at the time, they were like, please support my application in this thing or that thing. We're just like, but it was just mediocre. You know, no one got the 100x. No one got the 100 times exposure that these guys got for their $4 million bucks. So well played, Queensland. Go Queensland. So I've got my doubts about to do that. But nonetheless, there's opportunities in a smaller way for, I'd put it to you, just about any individual or any small business or any medium business or large business to actually do that. So we think about the large players in the media and in social media these days, and the big players in global economies. You know, Apple's, you know, could they pull this off? Because they know who we all are. How about if we all got a message on our iPhones today saying, hey, we're giving away this incredible holiday. All you've got to do is do a selfie video with your iPhone and publish it to this website. And we're going to put you on the moon. I'd go for it, wouldn't you? So there is definitely, the big players have got this opportunity, certainly Facebook, certainly Google, certainly the big corporate players, the big global players. But I put it to you that people love chance. You know, I put it to, I had a 50th birthday party. I know I don't look it, but I had a 50th birthday party on Saturday night, and one of my things is to actually sail around the world. So I was actually put it out there. I wanted as a present, can someone please give me a 45-foot catamaran already located in Greece so I can just go step on it. So someone gave me a scratchy ticket, you know, a lottery ticket, saying, there you go, John, that's the best we can do for you. But, and so we do love, people love chance, you know, we love the chance to win. And so if you can capture that love of chance, the thing that we all love to have a go at something, and where's a chance to win big, we will do it. And we also love being heard these days, don't we? I mean, who's uncomfortable with being on video? hasn't done some sort of recorded video to their Facebook these days, or to Snapchat or something like that. I think we've all recorded some sort of video of ourselves, yeah? It should be in this room as social media people. You know, you're here learning about it. So there's that sort of thing. So we love being heard. So the social media space and the transcendence and the social revolution that we now participate in is something that's really a big opportunity. You know, and something simple is, you know, say TripAdvisor or Google or anyone that's in that sort of ilk could run something such as the best restaurant in the world. And so invite the restaurants of the world to make a little application video, 60 seconds in length, show us your restaurant, publish it on this website or hashtag it like this, and we'll put you in the running, you know. But you need to be able to drive and control that sort of social media interaction. But it's so simple. If you can get that sort of exposure and say that there's some, I don't know, what would you do? You get Gordon Ramsay to go visit, or who's the other guy? Who's the other big? Yeah, or the Naked Chef, Jamie Oliver. Like, how about if you offered to bring Jamie Oliver and the bloke I first mentioned, Gordon Ramsay, to be there at the same time to critique and improve your restaurant? That's going to inspire you as a restaurant owner, isn't it? Yeah. You know, particularly if you could organise them to fight in a chocolate wrestle or something like that. I don't know, but that's just me thinking aloud. Did I actually say that? I don't know. But anyway, so there's plenty of opportunity out there, and that's where you should be inspired as social media people, myself and Rudy included, that there's plenty of opportunity for social media, competition type thing around a video application to actually be successful. And that's, I guess, is a little bit of takeaway and hopefully a little bit of inspiration for you. For those who don't know about the best job in the world, you're now educated about the methodology behind that, and you should be already thinking about the possibilities, yeah, for when you do find yourself in a job around this. Anyway, I'm going to now give you a little bit of insight into my background, and how this intersected, and you might even see a bit of a connection, see how it was relevant at some point as we went along here. So where was I all this time? Well, I actually was living on a boat in the Whitsundays at the time. I mentioned that. So 2015, I bought a boat and moved on my catamaran to the Whitsundays. So, and it was great because just about that time, the Telstra, so we all enjoy 4G internet, don't we, on our phones now? A lot of internet, really fast internet. The first edition of that was about 2007. Telstra launched NextG, 3G technology, which changed my life incredibly. Incredibly so, because I was living on a boat, but always had to go back into the marina to actually get on the Wi-Fi and do my thing. Now what happens, Telstra launched this 3G, NextG technology, and I was able to stay out amongst the islands of the Whitsundays. Who's been on a Whitsunday cruise? Oh, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? So I was out there living amongst the islands, able to do my website design, able to email obviously with my clients. I was even editing databases over the 3G connection. And at one point, and I was blogging about it. I was so fabulously happy about that sort of experience that what I did is I jumped in and actually was blogging about, oh, I've been to this island and it worked this fast. I went to that island, it worked that fast. And it went behind there and it didn't. But anyway, Telstra rang. Telstra rang up and said, what, hey, John Naylor, is it? Yeah, it's Telstra. I go, no, I've paid my bill. You know, and they go, no, it's the marketing department. I said, oh, okay, what do you want? Oh, we'd like to send a film crew, and we'd like to write a testimonial, and we'd like to use you. So that video that just played there was part of a 3-minute presentation that the then CEO of Telstra, because he'd spent $1 billion, he'd spent $1 billion of Australia's, of Telstra's money building this network. And so Telstra had the largest, fastest network, telecommunications network at the time in the world. So he went to all the conferences and boasted about it. So he used a bunch of videos. So there was newscasting, there was remote education, there was firefighting, distribution, getting car parts out to people. And then at the final 30 seconds was the story of John Naylor living on his boat in the Whitsundays. My mum was very proud. And it went further than that. So, on any given day, so this was a 4-page brochure that actually fell out of every newspaper in Australia on one particular Tuesday. So if you bought any newspaper in Australia, it fell this 4-page brochure with a story of me. So once again, Mum was still got stacks of those stacked away somewhere. I could have brought some today actually. I thought I'll do that for next time. But what happened around that? So John Naylor had his first outing in social media or in video media. He'd faced the camera and said, "John, you did that." A lot of people said, "That looks fabulous, John. You look good in front of the camera. You're quite confident too," turns out. So that was 2007, start of 2007 roughly. And then what happened there is I met actually Charles Sanhueza from Chile, Santiago, yeah. But he'd lived in Australia most of his life. And YouTube arrived, 2007. YouTube arrived, you know, or come into my awareness. Had just been sold for $2 billion to Google. So you go, that's significant, isn't it? And so when I saw it, and as a digital marketer, as a website guy, and understanding the technology and how you could use a YouTube and put it into a website, we went straight out and started this little thing here, channelwithsunday.com. And it was small. It was tiny. Airlie Beach has 3,500 residents, yeah? Has a lot of tourists come through the place, but there's only 3,500 residents. So we addressed the challenge that the Whitsundays in Airlie Beach had, because the nearest television station, the nearest television reporting crew was 90 minutes drive. And the next one after that was 3 hours, Mackay and Townsville. So it was very rare that a television channel would send a film crew to cover anything in the Whitsundays. And what was significant here at this time is that the local council or local municipality, they had entered an agreement to actually sell the Whitsunday airport. And so people naturally incensed. They had a huge turnout for protests here in Proserpine, which is an inland town of the Whitsundays, and in the hometown of mine there, Airlie Beach. So, and what we did is I said, you know, we've got to get involved in this. And I'd started hanging around with this video media guy, and we'd started dabble with YouTube. I said, well, let's go down the main street and join this protest, but you know, I'll interview people. And so on the basis of that, so with his Sony Z1s and, you know, microphones and stuff that I still have today, or still use myself today, we went down and covered this thing and published it onto YouTube. So we created our first, you know, genuinely passionate piece of social media that we, you know, put out to the world. And we were able to get coverage across Queensland, and we emailed it and put it in front of the then Premier Peter Beattie, and made sure that the voices of the Whitsundays were heard outside of the main street. In fact, old mate, so Charles, being the cheeky guy he was, he actually took a audio clip of these children going, "Save our airport, save it now." He just took that one clip and played it over and over and over again, along with some interviews along the way. And you know, which most significantly here, you probably see me interviewing a horse. Not my proudest moment, but still something that's worthwhile. And actually, Charles actually put in the horsey voice and said, "Save our airport," you know, something like that. So that it was an outlet, yeah. So so Channel Whitsunday was born as a media company in the tiny community of 3,500 people. And on the basis of that, we were then able to use our brand to then go to anything in town and get free drinks. It was fabulous. But hey, this is an opportunity, you know, that if you go and you go one step further than a selfie video and go out and actually start to interview people or start to do anything on a semi-sort of professional basis. And we've all got our YouTube stars back at home. We've all know people that are famous from just being on Instagram, yeah? So the only thing is, and this is probably something to make sure that you note, yeah? Don't do it in a town of 3,500 people, because you'll go on and on and on, and you get free drinks all over town, but you won't get famous. Okay, I proved that. We did Channel Whitsunday for about 4 or 5 years. And as I said, I could go anywhere in Airlie Beach and get a free drink, but it didn't really amount to much in terms of our financial outcome. So, what are we doing? We've got Whitsunday. John's got a bit of personality. He loves getting in front of the camera. We've got this little thing called Channel Whitsunday. Now, incidentally, around that, and this was a little business model, it worked. Something for anyone here, they're welcome to explore. Using some semi-professional video equipment, we went out and made an offer to all the tourism operators in the Whitsundays. So this was a genuine business opportunity that is worth noting, because I think it's still valid today. Back then and still today, if you want to get a professional video done of your restaurant or business or hotel or tourism product, expect to pay $3,500 or more. That's kind of the going rate for having a corporate video shot, yeah? So we did with Channel with Sunday, we remodeled that or sort of disrupted it ourselves in a way. We disrupted that by actually having a contract arrangement with people. Say, look, we'll come and make a video about your business, and on the basis of that, we'll charge $1,000 a year for as long as you'll keep paying $1,000 a year. So on the basis that we remodeled and remarketed, you know, video production in a way that was very palatable financially for people. Now the fault with that, and the takeaway for myself, is we never made them sign a contract to a minimum period. Yeah. So what happened is they paid their $1,000. The second year they said, oh, we've changed the decor, we've changed the bedspreads, we've changed something, so we're not going to pay this year. And they sort of went away. But if we'd signed them to a 5-year contract, we'd taken something that was like $3,500, you know, and a lot less to produce, and actually made $5,000 out of it. So it's a little thing to do there. If any of you guys have aspirations about video production and publishing things to YouTube. Oh, and one really important thing to do, never, ever, ever give people a copy of the master. Don't give them the DVD. Don't give them a copy. Don't put it on their YouTube account. The one occasion where we did do it, they said, oh, I really need it for a presentation of this thing. We said, okay. And I drew a skull and crossbones on the DVD saying, do not duplicate, do not publish. And within 2 years, it was published on YouTube. So in contravention to a very clear message about copyright, yeah? So if you want, make sure, and that's another thing I guess to take away in terms of social media, is make sure you own that content and don't give away the master, ever. Okay, so John went for a trip. Let's try and reconnect with the best job in the world, because that was fabulous. I decided at some point, I had, who's heard of Couchsurfing? Couchsurfing Network, couchsurfing.com? Okay, so I've hosted around about 500 people on my boat back in the day via the couchsurfing.com website, and so I knew a lot of people around the world. So what I did is I took off for Thailand, and then from Thailand, after spending some days there with a couchsurfing friend, I then boarded a plane to Rome. Never been to Rome, so I thought it's about time. And I had arranged for a friend of mine to actually collect me from the airport. She'd sailed with me 2 years prior, or 1 year prior. A lovely opera singer who just happened to be on the dock one day and came for a sail with me. So she arranged to pick me up. So I'm transcending. So I've got this lovely overnight flight from Bangkok through to Rome, Italy, yeah? And it was empty. I got to sleep on 4 seats, you know? I don't know who's had that experience. I loved it. It's like, so I go, so as we were arriving to Rome, it's like, no, just keep going. I'm enjoying this so much. You know? But anyway, I didn't know what was about to really occur, because this is the end of January, around about now, 2009, yeah? So what happened is upon landing in Rome, my friend here, Emanuela, she was like, John, I've just heard on the radio about this best job in the world. You know, you must help me make a video application for this thing. You must help me win it. It's $160,000, Australian, 6 months in Australia, back in the Whitsundays. So on the basis of that, and she was an opera singer, and she had, you know, a bit of theatre style. So on the basis of that, we, over the next 3 days, like it's normal for us to go to the Colosseum and get a photo of the Colosseum or do a Colosseum tour. No, I went there with a very lovely Italian woman dressed in a pink wetsuit with all the matching fins and mask and snorkel, and we did a bit of video here with her down past the Gucci, down the Spanish Steps, and ultimately ended here where we actually videotaped her trying to get into the Trevi Fountain. So we went to a lot of trouble to actually, you know, publish it, and she made an application in the best job in the world. Now, strangely, she didn't make the top 50. I'm still dirty about that today. But anyway, so that was proof for me, you know, of the magnificent. I'd heard something was going on, but for me, this was this moment of like, oh wow, look what they've done, you know, because it took me a genuine 24 hours to comprehend and understand what had happened or what was going on, and that this competition was this homegrown thing I'd heard about was this, you know, huge competition which was now taking off around the world. So my experience of Rome back in 2009 was magical. It was really amazing because I got to shoot all this social media video. I then, as I travelled the rest of the journey, I then made it my mission, and it was a fun mission. It's a little bit hard to effect at some points, but as I travelled around, so via the UK, found an applicant there who was making a lot of noise in the media. There's Sarah. There was a notable lass there from Toronto. Edmonton, Hollywood, ultimately back here to Sydney, Australia, where, you know, I was able to, I mentioned earlier there was no presenter. I made myself the presenter. So that was social media. So if you've got the right skills, and this is where I hope to inspire you guys as social media, you know, people that are studying in the area, is that if you become that person, if you become that expert, if you become recognised as an entity on social media, we've all got aspirations in that area here. If you become that person, there's opportunity for you to trip over opportunities like this, whereby you in effect become some sort of commentator, and that's good for your profile, yeah? And I'll come back to that a little bit later. But it certainly made my journey of the world very, very entertaining. And you know, as I travelled also, and the other thing there, here I was travelling with not that video camera, a slightly older one, but I had a wireless microphone, I had a wireless receiver, I had a tripod. So on the basis of that, I was able to make these interviews with people. I was able to make my own application video. I had a slightly older computer as well, so I was able to edit on the run. So those are the sorts of things. So if you upskill in that area, you're putting yourself ahead of the pack. So a bit of video edit, a bit of time around cameras, around audio, upskill that stuff. So you're not just the person with the selfie video on an iPhone, you're actually someone with some skills that's actually then able to then not just be, you know, hashtag, you know, like me, you're actually someone that's actually producing good quality content with good quality audio, good quality visuals, and edit it together in a nice tight package and publish that. And that's where there's a lot of opportunity. Lot of opportunity. Anyway, now what that culminated in, that's a big chocolate fountain on Daydream Island. That was fabulous. We tried to pull up a chair, that stopped us. Now what happened was that final 16 event, that final event at Hamilton Island, you know, when I got back to Australia, I published all these videos, and of course you might remember the applicants, the top 50 and then the top 16 certainly, had to tell Queensland Tourism where they'd been interviewed. So every time I did an interview with a finalist, that got told to Queensland Tourism. So by the time I got back to Australia and the final event was coming up in June, I rang Queensland Tourism and said, hi guys, it's John Naylor. I said, oh yes, well done. You know, we've seen your videos and we actually appreciate what you've done because you've connected with a bunch of people around the world and helped promote the event. I said, well, I'd like to come along to the final event if I could please. So as part of the outcome of that, we put together a crew, which is just some friends and some that were available at the time. But we shot some videos with some Whitsunday businesses, which were able to fold together with, and we went to this final event with a big luxury yacht, a big luxury catamaran, in fact, with a big sign on the side for the company in question. So we're kind of sponsored to be there. Actually, it upset some people locally. We had to take the sign down, but what we're able to do is then on the basis of that, at that final event, it was only 3 days. And there was a really, really cool thing here that got acknowledged by popular media. So there were 16 finalists. I can find video interviews here from my YouTube account with, what's that, 11 there? I think it was more like 12 or 13 I got to in the end. But I made it my mission to have some quality time with each of the applicants and talk to them about their experience of the Whitsundays and make some more media on their behalf and on the behalf of using the Channel Whitsunday brand and put that up there. So we published, and then I interviewed the chef at some island, I interviewed the boat operator, the ferry operator at some island. And so on the basis, it was able to generate a whole bunch of video media, you know, some 50 minutes I think I added up in the end, over 3 days. Now let's contrast that with those traditional television media guys, yeah? So the television media was there, lots of them. They'd go around with big cameras, audio guy, and they'd shoot vision throughout the day of whatever was exciting. They'd go back to the hotel room, they'd edit it down to a 10-second clip, which they'd then buy satellite time for to transmit it back to their television station, back in their home country. So, you know, the exposure to mass media back then, that's how you did it, through the television media. So they were able to get 10 seconds out per day at best, back to the channels, whereas I was able to do 52 minutes of quality interviews from the Whitsundays and publish them. And so, you know, and it was kind of nice. We went along to things, you know, the media events, because we weren't media. We're a bunch of guys with video cameras and Channel Whitsunday shirts, you know. We sort of bought our way into it. But the takeaway from that is that they came up and said, we see what you're doing, John. There's people from, you know, the television, and we were talking, have a drink, and they said, we see what you're doing, and we're impressed. We can't do that. We can't move that much media. We haven't got outlet for that much media. We can't move that fast. So this was the heralding, and that thing I said about TV is dead. You know, I was able to do so much more with some very basic equipment and some really, you know, and 3G, 4G internet, 3G back in the time, where we actually put that amount of quality of feed out. So, so that was pretty good. Pretty proud of that moment. Once again, my mum was very happy. Anyway, so what does that mean today? And I don't know what the next slide is, so let's find out what I wrote down. There we go. Takeaway 3. So where have we arrived to? So the Channel With Sunday thing wound down. You know, I was sailing around the islands. I'd had just about enough of going to Whitehaven Beach 100 times. The sand's not so white anymore. So 2015, I came back to Brisbane, and where we've got to now is what you can do. You can do it for a lot less than you think. So creating video media, well, you know, reasonably professional, can cost a whole lot less than you think. So in the case of eCentral, we're now producing, so the studio at East Brisbane is there's about a $5,000 investment in equipment only. And so I'm producing the eCentral business show. Actually, I haven't got a clip here in the slide pack, which I should do to show you. But in this basic studio in a renovated Queenslander out here just at East Brisbane for $5,000, I'm producing the eCentral business show. I've got another one that's a bit of a fun one, face the camera, a bit of fun. It's the social revolution. You know, and then client work, working with a pest control company where we're doing termite talk. Not so much, not so interesting, but people are watching the videos, yeah? And that we're actually doing more videos, there's more concept. Haven't actually gone, so the eCentral business show is obviously business to business. I'm wearing the suit today and many other days this year, and on the base that interviewing business leaders and experts. You know, I've got some big aspirations. I've talked to some political leaders. I've talked to some genuine experts. And I'm unearthing all this knowledge. It's fabulous. But actually, I think I'll cover that on the next slide. There we go. So what it's meant is, so being good at social media video, and I encourage you all to get stuck into it, because I had 400 connections on LinkedIn, so the business network, yeah? The business connection network. I had 400 connections there. I'm now, as at last week, up to 16,000 connections, and that's growing at 2,000 connections per week. So my profile is on the rise, yeah? And I'm recruiting, the way I'm commercialising that, just to let you in on the secret, I'm recruiting resident experts. So they pay to come and be interviewed by me. They come in for an hour. We do 4 or 5 blog topics, you know, things that we used to call FAQs, frequently asked questions. So we're actually doing these interviews with people, and I'm saying, hi, it's John Naylor. Here I'm joined by Lisa Fogarty or Laura Solano. They're a resident expert in whatever, mortgage broking, performance, business coaching, social media. And on the basis of that, they're paying quite a nice, tidy sum of money to actually do that. And I'm spending an hour with them, just an hour. And then what do I do for the rest of the month? I go and hang out with you guys, or hop on aeroplanes, or I go to a coffee shop, or go for a sail, you know, whatever I can manage. So it's a job, it's actually so this is where an opportunity in the business model around what I'm doing, I'm open to you guys knowing about it, because there's opportunity for anybody to do it. And so my profile's increasing. I've got a public speaking event today. Oh, that's you guys, thank you. But my profile's increasing. And you know what? Hanging around with experts and leaders, it's really good for your knowledge. You actually learn a lot. Because they come in and they talk passionately. You know, I don't always workshop the topic with them before they actually even start the interview. So on the basis that when they come in, they spend some time with me, and I actually get to learn some really cool stuff. So interviewing people, and that's one of the takeaways from this, is doing social media video and interviewing people is a really good way to do it. And actually, I don't know whether you've heard of Rudy, but when I explained what I was doing, and some marketing guy said to me, he says, oh, by the way, that's a known thing. Like if you interview popular people, you actually kind of get to shave off a little bit of their popularity. That's like, it's a marketing model. It's a profile building. And actually, I was even at a presentation last year, and I stand up the back, stuck my hand up, someone popular on stage says, if you've got 3 followers on LinkedIn and 2 on Instagram and 3 on Twitter, you know, which social media outlet should you pick? He says, well, pick 1, pick 2, and keep up those. And he says, you know what? And I'd already started the East Central Business Show. He didn't know it. He's some popular bloke from the USA. And he said to me, you know what? If you start a show where you interview people, I've seen so many people rise to popularity and become an entity, become famous in their own right, just by interviewing people. I go, okay, I feel good about the decision I made 6 months ago to actually start interviewing people. But on the basis of that, there's that increasing profile. It's simply a model. It's simply a model for marketing yourself. If you interview popular people, experts, and get a bit of their time and just shave off a bit of their popularity, you get to pile it up and be popular yourself. If that's what you want, of course. So, takeaway number 4. And we're getting down to the end of the slide pack here too, by the way. I don't know how we're going for time. But video is a mature internet technology which too few are taking advantage of, yeah? So, and I mentioned it earlier, I really do implore you guys to step up. Learn a bit more about video edit, learn about audio, learn about interviewing techniques, learn about getting in front of people and making good quality stuff, how to video edit. You know, all those different genres are going to appeal to you in different ways, you know. I really only at this point, like making video, recording video and editing video is pretty straightforward for a guy like me. I've been in IT for 30 years. But the bit I'm really enjoying, and if you look at my LinkedIn profile, it says East Central Business Show host. That's a part I really like, where I get to spend time with quality people and raise my own profile. So look at the various parts of video media and decide which parts of that, or video social media, look at which parts of that appeal to you. Do you want to be the guy writing the story? Do you want to be the girl interviewing people? Do you want to be working behind the camera? Do you want to do the sound? You know, because there's so much opportunity around that sort of stuff. And I implore you to upskill because there's just so much you can achieve and so much there to be done. And and it is a mature technology, you know, 10 years ago for YouTube, you know, so, and you know, what we did with Channel With Sunday was back then, and then we got to, you know, launch off of the best job in the world and do what we did back in 2009. Oh, I love this one. There's a little final thing for you as well. Does anybody want to have a go at what luck is? What luck is? Anyone? Anyone want to have a shot at what luck is?
An opportunity?
Yeah, kind of. That's in there. Opportunity. What do we do with opportunity?
Make it? Say yes to it?
Prepare for it. Prepare for it. Very good. Very close. I've got a friend who said to me some time ago, I thought, oh, that's such a good definition. Luck is. So we like to think, oh, he's lucky. You know, John Naylor was lucky. He was in Telstra advertising. John Naylor was lucky. He was in Rome and travelled around the world and was able to make all that social media video. And it's like, I was prepared for that, I kind of think, because I'd actually, you know, looked at the technology and made sure I travelled with the appropriate levels of technology, was informed about it. And then when opportunity presents itself, I was then able to appear lucky. So I think luck. And so it's a very powerful thing. And I think that's one of my central takeaways from anyone I talk to about stuff, is like, yeah, you kind of think, that person's lucky, or I'm not lucky, I'm unlucky, which is a really bad thing to say to yourself. But if you prepare yourself and look for opportunity, then you're going to get lucky. And I invite you all to do that, yeah? So prepare yourself. Now, little invitation I'd like to make to the entire audience, yourself included as well, Rudy. Yeah, the East Central Studios, just at East Brisbane. If you know where the Gabba is, the Wollongabba Stadium, the studio's just there. I like interviewing people. I like educating people. So the offer I make to you is make connection in some way with me, and come out and have the experience if you want. I'll place that opportunity in front of all of you guys. So,
barbecue, beers.
Yeah. The beach party was, you know, Saturday night, and we've almost cleaned up.
Have you got cards, John?
You know what? I've got it.
After today, we'll be plugging John on our social media channel.
Oh, there we go.
So you can, you'll be able to find John pretty easily. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
How are we off for time, Adam?
We've got a bit of time for a Q&A. If anyone, are you finished your presentation?
That's my presentation, yeah, done.
Fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you got something out of that. Thank you.